Welcome to another episode of Haunted Places. Tonight we're going to look at the story of a ghost, a young woman who just wants to be loved. And you'd better love her if you know what's good for you. When the infamous French serial killer Henri Landru was about to face the guillotine, a priest asked him to divulge the secret of how he disposed of so many bodies without leaving a single trace. Landru replied, "Dear priest, I am about to go on a long journey and have only this little bit of baggage. Let me take it with me. I guess when the time comes for us to pass over, we all have our baggage, our loves, our hates, our hopes, our dreams. If the emotions are strong enough, perhaps some part of us can transcend death." Sarah Fletcher was born in Oxfordshire in the last quarter of the 18th century. She apparently belonged to a wealthy and well-connected family. She married a sea captain. One day she found out that he intended to commit bigamy. He planned to brazenly marry a wealthy woman in the village church not far from where they lived. "Speak now, or forever hold your peace." She managed to get to the church in time to stop the wedding, but her husband deserted her and went back to sea. Not long afterwards, she hanged herself using her pocket handkerchief and a cord from the rail of her four-poster bed. Those who died by their own hand were not normally allowed burial in consecrated ground, but Sarah was laid to rest in Dorchester Abbey Church. Sarah's ghost haunts that church and also her former home. It is said that in death she is beautiful, red-haired, voluptuous, and focused on making men adore her. So successfully that a number of men, including at least one clergyman, have succumbed to an overwhelming need to love and protect her. It is also said that men who refuse to pay her attention get to see a darker, more vengeful side of Sarah Fletcher's ghost. The epitaph on Sarah's tomb suggests that the church chose to believe that she took her life while in a state of complete mental collapse and was thus absolved from the sin of self-murder. Reader, if thou hast a heart famed for tenderness and pity, contemplate this spot, in which are deposited the remains of a young lady whose artless beauty, innocence of mind, and gentle manners once obtained her the love and esteem of all who knew her. But when nerves were too delicately spun to bear the rude shakes and jostlings which we meet with in this transitory world, nature gave way. She sunk and died, a martyr to excessive sensibility. Mrs. Sarah Fletcher, wife of Captain Fletcher, departed this life at the village of Clifton on the 7th of June 1799, in the 29th year of her age. May her soul meet that peace in heaven which this earth denied her. This is Sarah's last home, where she lived with her scheming husband and where she committed suicide. The house is called Courtiers, and it's on Watery Lane in Clifton Hampden. Courtiers has been just about constantly occupied since Sarah's time. In the early 1900s, it became a private school for girls. This photo was taken in 1913. But whether the house is occupied by scholars or families, there have been regular encounters with Sarah's ghost. She likes attention. Sometimes she wears a long black coat, sometimes a purple ribbon in her red hair. If she doesn't get attention, Sarah can be mean. She can make her point dramatically, even going as far as to reenact her own hanging. In 1846, Mr. Craig, the headmaster and proprietor of a boys' school, set up at Courtiers. He was able to lease the building for the remarkably low price of £20 per year. It's been suggested that this was because the building was in a state of neglect and had a reputation for being haunted. For quite some time, despite Sarah Fletcher being seen often, the teaching staff were able to play down or keep a lid on the situation. But then in 1854, there seems to have been some kind of spike in the haunting pattern, and it became impossible to be quietly discreet about the ghost, because allegedly everyone in the school, including the young students, witnessed Sarah at her most disturbing. The headmaster's son, Edward Craik, then 17 years old, had strange experiences on 2 consecutive nights. An unseen person opened his bedroom door and, still invisible, walked into his room and out of it again. On the 3rd night, he resolved to leave his bedroom door open. That night, when the footsteps came into his room and left, he jumped out of bed and followed quickly, and in a moonlit corridor, he saw Sarah Fletcher. There was nothing dead about her. She seemed tremendously alive, but her eyes were full of tears. The next day, I mentioned what I had seen to one of the assistant masters, and found that I had stumbled on what was common knowledge to the staff, though any hint of it had been withheld from the pupils. At 2:45 every morning, restless footsteps went from the room in which Sarah Fletcher hanged herself. Edward Craik later became a clergyman, and as alluded to earlier in this video, openly told others that he had fallen permanently in love with Sarah Fletcher. That night he had seen her weeping ghost in the moonlit corridor.